There is a fundamental human drive to leave a mark, to record our names, our laws, our gods, our stories. Writing is the mechanism of immortality, the voice that bridges the chasm of time. But what happens when that voice survives, yet its meaning is lost? What if a civilization builds an empire, only to have its words become an impenetrable wall? Now let's open the archaeological record and resurrect the worldview of these ancient minds. Our story begins in the vast, sun-scorched plains of what is now Pakistan and northwest India. Here, nourished by the formidable Indus River, rose one of the world's first great urban civilizations. Flourishing between 3300 and 1300 BCE, the Indus Valley Civilization, or the Harappan culture, was a contemporary of Egypt's Old Kingdom and the rising city-states of Mesopotamia. But unlike the staggering, monumental ego of the pharaohs or the cuneiform archives of Sumerian kings, the Indus civilization presents us with a profound, organized anonymity. When we excavate its great metropolises, cities like Mohenjo-Daro and Harappa, we are struck not by palaces or royal tombs, but by an almost modern sense of civic order. These were not scattered settlements. They were master-planned urban centers covering hundreds of hectares. We find streets laid out on a precise grid, houses built of standardized fired bricks, and a sanitation system unrivaled in the ancient world. Nearly every home in Mohenjo-Daro had access to water and a connection to a sophisticated network of covered drains running beneath the streets. This level of planning, as documented in archaeological reports, suggests a powerful centralized authority. Yet we find no opulent palaces for kings, no grandiose temples to identifiable gods. The archaeological record reveals a society of incredible uniformity. From the northern highlands to the shores of the Arabian Sea, nearly 1,000 miles apart, we find the same weights and measures, the same distinctive pottery, the same intricate carnelian beads. This was a cohesive, integrated economic and social world. And they wrote.
And they wrote.
Everywhere we look, on thousands of small, exquisite objects, we find their script. It appears on square steatite seals, intricately carved with animals. Majestic bulls, rhinos, elephants, and most famously, the enigmatic unicorn. We find it etched onto pottery, inscribed on copper tablets, and stamped onto terracotta bangles. Over 4,000 such inscriptions have been recovered. Herein lies the anomaly. We have the physical footprint of a civilization numbering perhaps 5 million people. We have their homes, their workshops, their ports, and their toys. We have their writing. But we are completely deaf to their voices. The Indus script remains one of the last great undeciphered writing systems of the ancient world. The minds that conceived these orderly cities, that engineered these drains, that managed this vast trade network. Their language, their beliefs, their history, are all locked behind a curtain of silent symbols. We see the figures, the short strings of characters, the repeated patterns. But what do they say? Are these the names of merchants, the records of trade, the titles of officials, or are they hymns to the gods who presided over the Great Bath? This is the central mystery of the Indus. We stand in the streets of a silent metropolis. We have recovered a library whose books we cannot open. The civilization is all around us, a tangible ghost. Yet its worldview, the very thoughts of its people, remain profoundly, frustratingly alien. To break this silence, we must first understand the anatomy of the code itself. The decipherment of any lost script hinges on three critical pillars: a substantial body of text, a known bilingual inscription, and some knowledge of the underlying language. The Indus script fails us on all three counts. The breakthrough in reading Egyptian hieroglyphs came with the Rosetta Stone, a single slab of granodiorite inscribed with the same decree in three scripts. The Greek, a known language, provided the key. Similarly, the Behistun inscription, carved into a cliff in Iran, presented the same text in Old Persian, Elamite, and Babylonian cuneiform, allowing scholars to unlock the languages of Mesopotamia. For the Indus script, no such key has ever been found. No Harappan merchant in Mesopotamia or Sumerian trader in Mohenjo-Daro left behind a convenient bilingual clay tablet. We are facing the lock without a key. This absence is compounded by a second critical problem: the brevity of the text. The vast majority of the 4,000 inscriptions are just 4 or 5 signs long. The longest found on a large sign, possibly from a gateway in Dolavira, contains only 26 signs, and even that is an outlier. The average is a mere handful of symbols. When we analyze a writing system, we rely on patterns. We look for repetition, for signs that appear at the beginnings or ends of words, for statistical frequencies. But with text this short, meaningful patterns are almost impossible to distinguish from random chance. It's the linguistic equivalent of trying to understand the entirety of English grammar and vocabulary from a handful of airport signs and company logos. There is simply not enough context. This leads us to the third and most formidable barrier: the unknown language. A script is not a language, it is a container for one. The Latin alphabet you are reading now can write English, French, Turkish, or Vietnamese. The symbols are the same, but the languages are unrelated. For the Indus, we have the container, the 400-odd unique symbols, but we have no idea what language it was built to hold. Was it a precursor to the Dravidian languages now spoken in southern India, pushed south by later migrations? This is the leading hypothesis, championed by scholars like Ascoparpola, who have spent decades looking for structural matches? Or did it belong to the Munda language family? Or perhaps an ancestor of Indo-Aryan Sanskrit, though this is chronologically difficult to support? Or, as is entirely possible, was it a linguistic isolate, a language with no surviving relatives, its entire family tree erased from history? Without knowing the language, decipherment becomes a purely abstract exercise in code breaking. We can't test a hypothesis. We can't propose a symbol means king, or fish, or God, and then check if that reading makes sense in a known linguistic family. The nature of the script itself is a battleground. With around 400 unique signs, it is too complex to be a simple alphabet, like our 26 letters, and too simple to be a purely logographic system, like Chinese with its tens of thousands of characters. This sign count places it squarely in the logosyllabic category, similar to Egyptian hieroglyphs or Mesopotamian cuneiform. A complex mix of signs representing whole words, syllables, and phonetic determinatives. The challenge is so profound that in 2004, a controversial paper argued that the Indus script might not be writing at all. The authors suggested it was a non-linguistic system of symbols, akin to heraldry, religious icons, or the symbolic notations found on Bronze Age pottery. Symbols that convey meaning, like "this belongs to the chief," but do not encode the sounds of a spoken language. This claim, however, does not align with the structural evidence. When we analyze the inscription statistically, we find a highly ordered system. The writing is consistent, running from right to left, a fact we know from observing how signs are compressed at the left end of a line when the scribe ran out of space. We find specific terminal signs that appear almost exclusively at the end of an inscription, strongly suggesting grammatical suffixes or case endings. We see repeating sequences and preferred pairings. As computational linguists have shown, this kind of rigid structure, or entropy, is a hallmark of language, not a random collection of symbols. The Indus people were writing. The tragedy is that they wrote on perishable materials. The seals and tablets that survive are likely just the labels, the durable metadata of a civilization whose literature is lost. We must assume that, like their contemporaries, they wrote letters, kept ledgers, and perhaps recorded myths on palm leaves, bark, or cloth, all of which have been consumed by the intervening 4,000 years of flood and decay. We are left, then, with only the fragments. The code is locked by the absence of a key, the brevity of the messages, and the silence of the language it once spoke. We are archaeologists staring at a database where every file is encrypted and the password was lost with the last speaker. Where the script fails us, the object must speak. This is the new frontier of Indus research. If we cannot read the labels, the short strings of text, we must, with even greater forensic intensity, analyze the vessels themselves. The profound silence of the Indus language has paradoxically forced archaeology to be more rigorous
turning
and
to
more
new
creative.
technologies to map the contours of this lost worldview.
Turning to new technologies to map the contours of this lost worldview. Today, this challenge is being met not just with trowels, but with algorithms. When we apply modern computational linguistics and machine learning to the database of 4,000 inscriptions, we can perform analyses impossible for the human mind. Computers can map the statistical likelihood of one sign following another, identifying potential prefixes, suffixes, and root words, even if we cannot know their meaning. This is digital pattern recognition on a massive scale. As demonstrated in a 2009 paper published in Science, these computational models analyze the script's entropy, its level of order and structure, and confirmed with high probability that it represents a true complex language, not a random symbolic system. This work builds a grammatical scaffold, a necessary framework that any future decipherment must fit. This vacuum of knowledge, of course, also attracts more than just science. It is a fertile, empty canvas for pseudo-archaeology. The silence of the Indus is frequently filled by sensationalist claims of lost continents, alien architects, or forgotten super technologies. But the archaeological record itself is the most powerful debunking tool. The evidence points not to a magical or alien society, but to a profoundly human one. The true wonder of the Indus is not some imagined fantasy. It is the verifiable reality of their sophisticated, organized, and homegrown urbanism. Their legacy, then, is written not in words, but in brick, terracotta, and carnelian. When we analyze the seals, we move beyond the script to the iconography. We see the recurring motif of the bull, a symbol of power and virility common across the Bronze Age. We see the so-called Pashupati, or proto-Shiva figure, a seated horned deity surrounded by animals, which many scholars see as a clear antecedent to one of the principal gods of later Hinduism. This is how we reconstruct their cosmology, by reading the art. Their society is revealed in their civic planning. The staggering uniformity of their fired bricks tells us of a centralized authority and a shared system of measurement. The meticulous drains speak of a collective concern for public health. The notable absence of royal palaces or monumental temples, when compared to Egypt or Mesopotamia, suggests their power structure may have been different. Perhaps less despotic, more distributed, or based on ritual rather than royal proclamation. We may not have their economic ledgers, but we have the standardized cubical weights they use to balance their scales, found in cities hundreds of miles apart. Ultimately, the Indus script remains a tantalizing promise. It is the last great voice of the Bronze Age still waiting to be heard. Its decipherment would not just give us names and dates, it would give us the intimate thoughts, the myths, and the very identity of a foundational human civilization. The search for these lost words is more than an academic puzzle. It is an act of restoration. These scattered signs are the fragmented DNA of an entire worldview, a system of human thought that once shaped millions of lives. To read them is to bridge a chasm of 4 millennia. To reclaim a forgotten chapter of our own human story, and to finally hear the voices from the silent metropolis.